Isopanisad. So we're continuing in the purport to mantra 5. So we'll just read the Sanskrit again, the English translation, and we'll just continue on the purport.
Yep.
Tarejati tannajati.
Tarejati
tannajati. Tadure tadvantike.
Tadure tadvantike.
Tadantarasya sarvasya.
Tadantarasya sarvasya.
Tadyu sarvasyasya bhayata.
Tadayu sarvasyasya bhayata.
Okay, Narendra, would you like to read the translation, please?
Yep. The Supreme Lord walks and does not walk. He is far away, but he is near. He is within everything, and yet he is outside of everything.
So we're hearing about some of the contradictions in the Lord, which is expected because he's far beyond us and his capacities and abilities and qualities and opulences. And just awesome. You could use the English word awesome. It's just so unlimited and so awesome. And that should inspire our faith that he's far beyond my comprehension. I can't comprehend how he's able to do two opposite things at the same time. So, but this should increase our devotion, our feelings of love and devotion, that he's just so vast, so great. If he was just completely easy to understand within 5 minutes, everything about him, then that doesn't say very much. He's obviously not going to be very great if we can fully comprehend him with our teeny brain. But the fact that he's far beyond our teeny brain to understand, which we've explained the word achincha, the Sanskrit word achincha means inconceivable. He's got inconceivable potencies. So if we want to go forwards in our bhakti, in our devotion for the Lord, we have to accept that the Lord has achincha shaktis, inconceivable potencies. If we don't, as soon as you run across something like this, something that just blows your mind, you can't understand it, you're gonna give up. You're gonna write him off. Oh, and you're gonna say, oh, this is just superstition. This is not possible. This is just a fairy tale. This is not real. That's not possible. And so like that, we're going to start to have doubts. As soon as you run across things about the Lord that you don't understand, that you can't comprehend, you're going to start to have doubts. If you think that I have to get it all, I have to comprehend it all, then as soon as you come across stuff that you can't comprehend, you're going to immediately have doubts. And, oh, this is Hindu mythology. This is just mythology, some superstition. Some guy just thought this up. This is just imagination. It's not real. But actually, it's all completely real. Whatever's descriptions in the Vedas about the Lord is 100% true, and it's real. But it's far beyond our mental capacity. Another name for the Lord actually is adhokshaja. Adhokshaja. It means he's beyond our senses, beyond our sense perception. We of course we understand things with our senses, our eyes, our nose, our tongue, our hands, like that. Through the senses, our ears, we understand things. But the Lord is adhokshaja. He's beyond the senses. So he has a spiritual body. You can't see that with these eyes. You can't touch that with these hands. He lives in the spiritual world. Can you see the spiritual world? You can't see Vaikuntha. You can't see Vaikuntha. You can't touch. Where Krishna lives or Krishna's body or things like that. So he's transcendental. He's beyond our sense perception. So then should we just give up then? I'm never going to understand him. No, there is a process before understanding the Lord, but that's the process of bhakti, of surrender to the Lord, engaging in devotional service. And when he's pleased by our bhakti, by our devotional service, the Lord will reveal himself to us. So that's how we progress in spiritual realization, is through the Lord's mercy, when he reveals himself to us, when he's pleased by our service. So this is the main emphasis. And Prabhupada's guru said this many times: don't try to see God, but act in such a way that he will want to see you. That's interesting, isn't it? I'll say that again. Don't try to see God, but act in such a way that he will want to see you. So we try, what's acting in such a way that he'll want to see you? That's bhakti yoga. That's by doing these devotional activities. Just by us talking about the Lord now, the Shravanam Kirtanam process, we're talking about him and you're hearing about him like that. This is bhakti. This is pleasing the Lord. So he becomes pleased when we take up this process of hearing and chanting and remembering him. And when he's pleased, he can reveal himself to us. Like one thing that pleases him a lot is spreading his glories, reaching out to people, trying to help other people become Krishna conscious. One day, Prabhupada said one time to the devotees that were distributing Bhagavad Gitas and other books to the public, he said to them, one day you'll turn around to distribute the book to the next person and Krishna will be standing there. That's far out, huh? So meaning that, that Krishna's watching, that we're doing such wonderful activities of trying to spread his glories even to people that might not be so, favorable or whatever. And sometimes you get a lot, I did that service for about 8 years, distributing books. And sometimes you get a lot of abuse. People say, no time, get lost, go away, bugger off. And, this, so sometimes you get a lot of abuse and you have to tolerate a lot of stuff. And but Krishna's pleased that, well, you're doing all that for me to glorify me. You're taking on all this austerity and everything like that, this abuse, and taking so many risks, and he becomes pleased. So and spreading the glories of the Lord, like through distributing prasadam or harinam kirtan, or through distributing books, can involve many difficulties and austerities, but the Lord is watching all the time, and as he's in the heart, and he's also outside, and he becomes pleased, and then he may reveal himself to us, and then automatically we progress into consciousness. So we're hearing some of these inconceivable potencies of the Lord.
So is this, so is this, you said distributing books, so would you say that that's working for Krishna, is it?
Well, that actually, it is working for Krishna, definitely, which in the 9 processes of Bhakti Yoga, you could say that's in Dasyara. Dasya. Dasyam is one of the 9 processes, serving, working or serving for the Lord. Like Hanuman is an example of that, carrying out the orders of the Lord. But it also fits into Shravanam Kirtanam, the first 2, because you're talking to someone about Krishna, about Bhagavad Gita. So that's Kirtanam. Kirtanam means speaking or chanting. And then the other person's hearing you, and that's Shravanam. So they're hearing about Krishna, and you're glorifying Krishna. So the book distribution fits into the 2 most important and powerful processes, the first 2, Shravanam, Kirtanam. And of course, what follows on, if you talk about Krishna and hear about Krishna, what will naturally follow that is the 3rd process, the 9, which is Vishnu Smaranam. Vishnu Smaranam means remember the Lord. You'll remember Vishnu. If you talk about the Lord and hear about the Lord, then naturally you'll remember them. So these are all processes of bhakti, of devotional service, and they please the Lord very much. And that is making us eligible to the Lord's mercy.
contact you, you've got to contact them.
I will, but I'm just...
Okay, so let's continue the purport.
Yep.
In our present state.
Yeah, that's only got a certain time limit.
So,
Yeah.
But there's one...
In our present state of imperfect material existence, we cannot see the Supreme Lord due to imperfect vision.
Yeah.
Yet those devotees who want to see him by means of material vision are favored by the Lord, who appears in a so-called material form to accept his devotees' service.
Yeah.
One should not think that such a devotee who are in the lowest stage of devotional service are worshipping an idol. They are factually worshipping the Lord, who has agreed to appear before them in an approachable way. Nor is the archa form fashioned according to the whims of the worship. This form is eternally existence with all paraphernalia.
yeah.
This can be actually felt by a sincere devotee, but not by an atheist.
Mm.
I like that option.
So
In
what this is carrying on from is we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, the last paragraph was about the Archa Vigraha, the deity in the temple. And although it looks like a material form, it's actually not a material form. It's been spiritualized by being made by a devotee, that form of either wood or stone or earth. And then devotees pray that, Lord, you please come and descend from Vaikuntha in this form so that we can worship you. And this Archa Vigraha deity form is the mercy of the Lord. Mercy of the Lord. Hey, Brett.
Yes.
Brett, could you please turn your mic off for a sec? Just stay with us, but just turn the mic off. That's all right, no problem. No, stay with us. Just turn the mic off. And so this is the Lord's mercy. Like it started off, he started saying that in our present state of imperfect material existence, we cannot see the Supreme Lord due to imperfect vision. So because we only have material vision, we can't see the Lord's spiritual form. So out of his love and mercy for the devotees in the material world, he appears in the material world in a form that we can see. So we can see the murti, which is made of marble or wood or metal like that. We can see that, and that will help us to develop a relationship with the Lord. Obviously, how are you going to develop a relationship with someone you can't see? Obviously, it's going to be difficult. Would you be able to develop a relationship with your wife if you couldn't see her, or your kids if you couldn't see them? You know, so that'd be, if it's just sort of in the air sort of thing, it's very hard to have a relationship. Like, for example, try having a relationship with the Akash, with the space, you know, or Vayu, with the air. You know, it's very hard because you can't see it, you can't touch it like that, you can't relate with your senses. So the Lord very kindly appears in a form that we can connect to with our senses. We can touch the deity. We can see the deity. We can glorify the deity, hear about the deity. We can cook for the deity, clean the temple, build a temple for the deity. You know, maintain that temple, make money for the temple to maintain the deity and everything like that. And ideally, in Vedic culture, they bring it right down to our house. That not just that there's a temple outside that you may go for Janmashtami once a year or once a month or whatever on a Sunday or whatever, but you make your own house into a temple. And one room in the house, then Bhagavan is there in the house. The deity is there. You establish either Sitaram or Lakshmi Narayan, Radha Krishna, like that, Nrsingadev, you know, some murti form. I mean, and you know about that in Hindu culture. That's very, very common. And you know, a lot of ladies, they love to worship Bal Gopal. You know, Ladu Gopal, Bal Gopal, and they take Gopal everywhere with them in a little basket. They carry Gopal around everywhere with them. And you can see how the relationship with the Lord develops so nicely. You know, that they'll cook for, you know, their Bal Gopal and give him a bath and dress him and feed him, cook for him like that. And then after he's eaten, then they'll eat just like their child. You know, they're treating him just like their child. And so nicely a relationship develops with the Lord through that deep form. Without that, then it's very difficult to make progress. Very difficult. And that's what it's talking about here. But it appears like a material form, but one shouldn't think it is material. It's actually the Lord. It's non-different than the Lord. There's no difference between the Lord's spiritual form and the Archa Vigraha, the deity form. According to the Vedas, there's no difference. And I explained last time we spoke that there's been many cases where the deity actually talks with the devotees or actually eats all the food that's offered to him. There's nothing left on the plate, or even leaves the altar, even walks off the altar. So situations like that definitely indicate that it's not a material form. Because as we all know, that stone can't talk, you know, wood can't, you know, eat food, you know, metal can't walk, you know, like it's the deities, they can, and many times it's been seen that they act differently than just dead matter, because it's actually the Lord has manifested in that, and it's been transformed.
And the material energy is itself is Lord's energy, isn't it? So he can actually transform between spiritual energy and so. Yeah. From our point of view, we're looking at it as material.
Yeah.
But actually, but it's his energy. I mean, it's an inferior energy, but it's his part. If you look from that point of view, that's true. And he's coming as
he's the controller of the energy.
Approachable, because what we can conceive, what we can see, he is actually turning into it so that we can actually feel his presence. If it's coming into material form, because of our limitation, he's turning him into a material thing. But actually, if he can turn him into a material form, he can basically, it's all his energy. He can do anything. So that makes sense. Basically, people, as you said, don't say they are just worshipping an idol. But if you go deeper, as you said, it's all his energies. You can connect basically.
Yeah. And like we mentioned the example a couple of weeks ago, like an electrician, there's one electricity. Electricity is one thing, not two things or more. It's only one thing. But the expert electrician, he can change how the electricity is functioning. Like the electricity, he can make it into a heater, or he can make it into a cooler, you know, like a freezer. And you might question, how is that possible? How can one electricity on one side it make something hot, on another side make something freezing cold, if it's the same power? But just by the expert electrician, he can adjust it to have opposite effects. So from Krishna's point of view, he's like the supreme electrician. He can turn matter into spirit, or spirit into matter, and it's just acting differently like that. But from his point of view, it's just one energy. Everything's his energy, and matter and spirit it's all his energy. But he can change how that energy is functioning, either as a spiritual energy or as the material energy, and he can turn one from one to the other. Right. And talking about idol, you mentioned the word idol, which it mentions here. We also would agree that we shouldn't worship idols. So, I mean, the Bible, the Christian Bible also mentions the commandment is not to worship idols. So we don't disagree with that. We agree with what it says there. But what we would say is there's a difference between an idol and a deity or an archavigraha. An idol is something that is created in someone's mind. It's a concocted form. It's a mentally concocted form. Like I might have a dream, and in that dream I see, a green person with red spots and three eyes and six arms and like that, four legs, and and then I create a form according to that in my imagination. I think God looks like whatever, a blue Martian with antennas and all the things like that. So we create something according to that form in our mind. So say that, yeah, you shouldn't do that. That is not beneficial in any way. That's beneficial.
Okay.
But the deity is completely different scenario. It's coming from the directions of the scriptures. The scriptures give us directions as to what God looks like, and gives a whole process about how you should make the form from material elements and how you should invite the Lord to come. There's a whole procedure how you invite the Lord to come from the spiritual world to the material world. And then there's a whole procedure how to keep the Lord there. It means there needs to be regular service and some devotional service there in order for the Lord to stay there in that particular form in the material world. Because why the Lord comes is out of his love for us. But if we don't show any interest to love him, then why is he going to stay? I mean, would you stay anywhere, any particular place, if you felt that people around you didn't love you?
No, obviously not.
We wouldn't either. So I mean, you can understand the Lord, how he ticks by how we tick. Because remember, we're part of the Lord, right? Mamaivam Shoji Valo Kajiva Buddha Sanatana. We, the soul, are part of the Lord. So the way we function is going to be similar to the way the Lord functions. We're a person, he's a person. We have feelings, he has feelings. We want to be loved and give love, and he also wants to be loved and give love also. And if you invite him to come, but then you don't show any interest in serving him or loving him or whatever, then he's going to go, or he won't even come in the first place if there's no love there. So it's a lot of criteria that has to be fulfilled, has to be met before you actually have the transcendental form of the Lord appearing in the material world. It's not like it just happens automatically. No, it's a scientific procedure right at the beginning. How you're going to design that form and make that form, it has to follow the procedure and everything like that, right to the, once it's established, the day-to-day activities need to be like that.
So there is a process. So there is a process actually for every deity is created. It's based on the Vedic literature, or it's like
yes, it's from the Veda literature. Yeah.
Okay.
It's coming from the Vedic literature.
That makes sense.
Vedic literature means literature that's free from many defects. Free from any defects. Means there's no mistakes in the Vedas. There's no imperfect senses. No imperfect sense perception in the Vedas. There's no illusion in the Vedas, no Maya, and there's no cheating. No cheating in the Vedas. It's said that every conditioned soul has 4 defects.
Yeah.
That's the 4 I've just said. Cheating, subject to illusion, we have imperfect senses and we make mistakes. So getting knowledge from any conditioned soul with those 4 defects is not very valuable at all. It's useless, in fact. But what we want is perfect knowledge, free from defect, and that's the Vedas. So that's the Vedic knowledge. It's either coming directly from the Lord or someone that's a representative of the Lord. And only those personalities are completely perfect. So we take knowledge from them about how to worship deities or whatever it is, what to eat or what work to do or how to uplift our consciousness or whatever it may be, look after our health. Even like in the Vedas, right, there's Ayurveda. It's all about health. It's perfect knowledge about health. There's Dhanurveda, means all the military warfare knowledge, Dhanurveda. So that's, knowledge about how to protect yourself like that and dealing with politics and all that kind of stuff. There's Jyotir Shastra. That's the knowledge about the astrology and the planets and how they affect you and control you and how you can deal with those influences and stuff like that. So, and then there's the spiritual knowledge as well, like Bhagavad Gita. There's so many, all different subjects in the Vedas, but the idea is it's all completely perfect because it's coming from the perfect person or someone that's representing the perfect person, and they're not changing anything. But as soon as we just speculate and concoct, separate from the Lord, then that knowledge is useless. And, whatever worship we do is also just mental speculation. And like, it's just idol worship like that. It's got no real benefits. No real benefit there. Okay. So this one.
Yep. In Bhagavad Gita 4.11, the Lord says that how he treats his devotee depends on devotee's degree of surrender. The Lord reserves the right not to reveal himself to anyone and everyone, but to show himself only to those souls who surrender unto him. Thus, for the surrendered soul, he is always within reach, whereas for the unsurrendered soul, he is far, far away and cannot be approached. In this, sorry, you wanna?
Yeah. So in this verse 411, Prabhupada's quoting is Krishna's saying that he rewards everyone accordingly to how they approach him, what degree of surrender. If you surrender 10% to the Lord, then he'll reciprocate 10%. If you surrender 50%, he'll reciprocate 50%. If you surrender 100%, he'll reciprocate 100%. And so he's very neutral and very fair. He's not like being partial. We can't criticize the Lord that why the Lord is so kind to that person but not to this other person. If it was like that, then that would seem to be not very fair. That because the Lord we know is the Father of everyone. So how is it that the Father is treating one son better and another son worse? He's neglecting one son and treating another son very special treatment. But you can't criticize the Lord of actually being partial. It's not that he's partial. He's reciprocating with us according to how much we reciprocate with him. If you want to forget God, he won't do anything in your life. You'll never see him. He'll never appear to you if you want to ignore him and forget him. If you're 0 for him, then he's 0 for you, like that. So, and if you always want to remember him and always have his help in your life, then he'll always be there for you. So that's his fairness, that however much you put towards your relationship with him, he'll put that much towards you. But of course, what he's putting is always greater, because he's so unlimited. Like this, there's a saying: if you make one step towards God, he makes 10 steps towards you. meaning, his capacity is so great, so big. Like I give you an example. In Krishna Lila, this is mentioned in Krishna book that Prabhupada translated from 10th Canto Srimad Bhagavatam. One fruit seller gave some fruits to the Lord when he was just in his child Lila, very young. He had seen his mother and father engaging in bartering products. That was the original system, right? You didn't need money. You just bartered. I give you a product and you give me some product. There was no money there. So he had seen them like give some grains in exchange for other products. So in his little palms, he carried the grains to the fruit seller who was sitting at the side of the road with a basket full of fruits. But because he was in his baby form and acting just like an ordinary baby, a child, not a baby, an ordinary child, the grains slipped through his little fingers. So by the time he reached the fruit seller, there was no grains. But the fruit seller was so enamored by, he's so beautiful. This child, Krishna, is so gorgeous, so beautiful. And she just felt inspired. Let me give him as much fruits as he wants. Even if he hasn't given me anything, let me give, fruits just to make him happy. And she was happy to do that. So she piled up his little hands with all different fruits, and Krishna walked away very happy. Now, materially speaking, she's a little, right? But that's what happened, because when she looked down in her empty basket, because she'd given away all the fruits, an empty basket, it wasn't empty anymore. It was piled up with valuable jewels beyond description. So there was all rubies and diamonds and everything. So the Lord reciprocates, If you surrender to him, like she surrendered, and then Krishna also reciprocated and gave back to her so much. But what Krishna gave to her was much more than what she gave to Krishna.
Yeah.
But the main thing is from our heart. From our heart, we should give to the Lord. It doesn't matter how valuable or whatever it is that what we're giving. Like in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, text 26, it says there, Patram puspam phalam toyam, that if one gives me with love and devotion a leaf, a fruit, or flower, or water, I will accept it. So you can even give a leaf to the Lord or a flower. It doesn't have to be $1 million or anything like that, gold or whatever. It can just be a small item. If you're a poor person and that's all you have, then you give that, then the Lord accepts it if you give it with love and devotion. So the point is that there should be some love and devotion there, and the Lord will reciprocate, very equally with that.
That's the word here, degree of surrender. Surrender is basically you have trust and faith in somebody, and then you say yes, he's gonna take care of me or something. So
yeah.
So it depends on the degree of surrender. So I can understand. Yeah, okay.
A really good
so it's the amount
example
of faith you have.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
A really good example to illustrate that degree of surrender, the pastime, very famous pastime of Draupadi, right? She has been, Yudhisthira lost her in the gambling match to Duryodhana. So technically she became the property of Duryodhana and others. So they started to try to strip her naked, make her naked in the assembly. So very horrible thing to happen. And so Draupadi obviously was in big trouble. She's got this very powerful Kshatriya named Dusasan, who's, millions of times more stronger than her. She's just a weak woman. He's a very powerful military man. So, and he started to pull her sari off, and she's trying to hold on to her sari. Is that going to be successful? No, it's not. So then she calls out Dhritarashtra, protect me. Do something about this. And Dhritarashtra didn't do anything. Bhishma, Bhishma, help me. And Bhishma didn't do anything. And then she, next person. There, Yudhisthira, help me. He couldn't do anything. Bhima, help me. Sakula, Sahadev, Arjuna. No one helped her. Did Krishna do anything during her calling out for help to every other Tom, Dick, and Harry?
No, they didn't do anything. Krishna
do anything. But as soon as she realized there's no one can help me except for Krishna, and then she let go of her sari because she was trying to protect herself. Then she let go, put her hands in the air, and called out, "Hey Govinda," like that. "Hey Krishna, hey Yadava." As soon as she called out to Krishna, then what happened? Then Krishna came. She surrendered to Krishna, and immediately Krishna was there for her. But unless and until she called out for Krishna, Krishna wasn't there. But as soon as she called out, then Krishna, he incarnated as unlimited amount of sari. Krishna manifested as unlimited sari. That's how he protected her. Dusasan kept pulling and pulling, but it never ended because the sari was 6 meters long, right? But Krishna manifested unlimited sari, so he had a mountain of sari piled up behind him, and he became tired, so he gave up, and everyone realized that they're not going to be successful and making her naked. So she was protected, she was saved by Krishna. But Krishna didn't do anything until she surrendered, until like that degree, that high degree of surrender. If there's no degree of surrender, then Krishna's not going to get involved. If you don't want him, he's not going to force himself in your face. And if you call out for him, he's definitely going to be there. He's definitely going to be there. And that's why we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. We're calling out to Krishna, and Krishna's there. Krishna said when you chant Hare Krishna, Prabhupada said, when you chant Hare Krishna, Krishna's dancing on your tongue. So Krishna's there, and he's helping you. He's protecting you. There was amazing successes happening all over the world, especially in the early days of the Hare Krishna movement. It was just expanding like amazingly. And the devotees had no money, they had no friends, no influence, they were hippies, they had no jobs, but everything was working out, and it was just amazing. They were able to purchase big towns and properties, and they had so much money coming in, and everything was just, so many devotees were joining. And the reason why we're successful is because we are chanting Hare Krishna. Because we're chanting Hare Krishna, and Krishna's pleased, and he is helping us. So that's the thing, call out to Krishna, Krishna's there, he helps you. You don't call out, you're not interested in Krishna, you have other people to help you, then Krishna's going to say, okay. The police are going to help you, your family's going to help you, whatever you think. And of course, no one can help us. So until we realize that, though, that Krishna's the only one that can really help us. That's the thing. So that's a good pastime to illustrate that degree of surrender.
So trying to understand it, and then as you said, the process is there, you have to follow it, I guess, and slowly the faith and the trust increases, and your degree of surrender increases. That's kind of a process, isn't it?
It is a process. We shouldn't expect that it's going to be 100% surrender in the very beginning. No, that's the process. We're going from 0% surrender. That's where we've come from. And slowly we're developing faith that we're the soul, that Krishna's God, and that we're the servant of Krishna, because we're hearing about, this is the process. So by hearing about Krishna and the soul and everything, then your faith develops. Then you start to make baby steps. Okay, I'll chant Krishna's names. Okay, I'll bow down to him. Okay, I'll offer my food to him. So baby steps. And then 1% surrender, 2%, 3%,
Yeah.
10%, 15%, like that. So we're building it up. So that's the science. It's not, that would be artificial to say that, you have to be 100% surrendered.
Yeah, because when you go from 1 to 2%, you only go to 2% if you realize something from 1%, isn't it?
Yes.
So you just understand, gives you more understanding. Yes, this is right way. I mean, it's the right way. I can understand things now. So basically, as you said, this sentence is saying, it gives you more understanding of himself, basically, and this world. And then so it's like you realize, and then, so as you said, it's a science. It's not something mystic, you keep do, and it's got the intangible result, but you gives you that's I think that's to get a feeling.
Yeah. So you get some more knowledge, some more realization, Gyan and Vigyan. Then your faith develops, and then you do more. Then you extend your relationship more with Krishna. So it goes on like that. However, there is an alternative. There is an exception. So that's the general process. That's called sadhana siddha. Sadhana siddha. So sadhana means your spiritual practices, and siddha means perfection. Perfection, what is perfection? That's the Krishna prem, the love for God. So the love for God develops through that gradual process of your sadhana, your spiritual practices. However, there is another pathway, and that's called kripa siddha. Kripa siddha.
Kripa, mercy. Okay.
That means you got mercy. So that is also possible. We see there are some rare cases where someone went from basically no level of surrender to a really high level, the top level, like immediately, and they didn't follow the in-between stages. So those very rare cases are there. We shouldn't expect that we'll get that, but we hope for that, because that's really cool if you can just suddenly accelerate. And like I said, that the Lord, he loves us, and he's very kind, very compassionate. He's always trying to help us. So if you just happen to do the right thing that pleases him, within his power, anything is within his power. He can do anything. So he can lift us up, straight away into perfect self-realization, God realization, love of God, if he wants to. There's one case like 500 years ago where there was one Muslim man who was fixing shoes, which is one of the lowest occupations in Hindu culture, because shoes are very dirty, bad karma. So fixing people's old shoes is a pretty low job. So, and he was also regarded as a very low person, because Muslim means generally they eat cows. And to eat cows is very, in Vedic culture, is a very low birth to be eating cows. I also come from that kind of birth, very degraded, called malecha. That very unclean cow. Malecha. It means meat eater. Malecha means like dirty meat eater, like that very unclean, very, meat eater, especially cow eater, and that is malecha. And Yavana, another name is Yavana. Don't follow any Vedic principles like that. And so he was like a malecha, Yavana. And but one time a pure devotee named Srivas Thakur, who was a dear follower, devotee of Lord Chaitanya, he came to get his shoes fixed. So the Muslim fixed a devotee's shoes. So, and that's service, that's devotional service. He fixed the shoes for a devotee. And so one day he was walking on the street, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, God, Krishna himself in the form of Lord Chaitanya, was walking on the street. And Lord Chaitanya, he's omniscient, right? He knows everything. He knows all the good and bad things everyone's done. So he knew this Muslim has done a little service for my beloved devotee. So what did he do? He went up to him and just gave him a big hug. He gave him a big embrace. So you're being embraced by God. Do you know what happened?
He became, well, he's enlightened, I guess.
Just try to imagine you being embraced by God. God himself embraces you. So he went from no bhakti, from no shraddha, no faith, no bhakti, no prema, to 100% bhakti, 100% shraddha, faith, 100% prema, love, 100% bhava, ecstasy, in one moment. In one moment. So he got the Kripa Siddhi. He had tears coming out of his eyes sideways. He fell on the ground and rolled around on the ground and then became unconscious, became stunned. He was roaring at the top of his lungs, Hare Krishna! So he got everything right in a moment. That's also possible, so and that's part of the science too. That's also part of the science. That, if you can do some service that attracts his attention to you, then he's going to be pleased naturally, and he's going to lift you up. He's going to help you. He's going to reciprocate. So that's also part of the science of Bhakti Yoga. And that's a very special part of the Bhakti Yoga science, because in no other process is that opportunity available. And that's the only way to evoke the Lord's mercy, as if you render devotional service, either to him directly or to his devotee. Actually, if you render devotional service to the Lord's devotee, is more beneficial than rendering service to the Lord. And if you think about that, that makes sense, because God's got everything, right? I mean, what service you can do for God? What you can do for him, he's already got everything. If you offer him $100 or $1,000 or $1 million, is that going to benefit him in any way?
No.
No. I mean, if you build him a temple, is that going to benefit him in any way? No. I mean, he's got palaces already in Vaikuntha, so much better, everything like that. So he doesn't really need anything. But his devotees, his bhaktas, they need a lot. They need some help, because we're very limited. So if you serve them, then the Lord's very pleased. So like that Muslim served Srivas Thakur, the Lord was very pleased. So so that's part of the science too. But other processes where they're not rendering service to the Lord like that, like the karma yoga process, jnana yoga process, astanga yoga process, dhyana yoga process, these other yoga systems where there's not much bhakti there, then you don't get any mercy. It's just you have to do the sadhana. You have to one, step two, step three, you do the sadhana, you do your japa, you do your things, your meditation, and you stand on your head and press your nose, and you got to follow the process, and slowly some progress is there. There's no fast lane, but in Bhakti Yoga there is the slow lane, and there's also a fast lane, So that's a very special part of the process that's unique to Bhakti, because in no other process for self-realization you can get that mercy, which can advance you immediately from low to high stage. And Prabhupada gives the example, like in a skyscraper, you can walk up the stairs, and if you go up the stairs, you have to go one by one. First floor, second floor, fourth floor. But if you take the elevator, You can go immediately from 0 to 100. Isn't it?
Okay.
So
Oh
it's
yeah,
like,
the comparison. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you get in the first floor and you come out on the 100th floor. So
I
you
think
didn't.
in somewhere in the Bhagavad Gita as well, it says that other processes are basically the lower processes, which ultimately ends in bhakti. You know, the process of devotion, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they are basically the long term, and as you said, the lift and the stairs example
Yeah.
is perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I think in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that's what he said, isn't it? That you don't need to do anything except devotion to. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, I
Everything
mean,
we can get from
God is saying.
just by doing devotion. Everything you can get. And that doesn't mean if you do, then the next question will be, well, if you do devotion, then you have to give up all your activities with society and your family and everything like that. But no, that's not true, because all you have to do is you just smear everything you're doing with devotion. You add devotion to your family, you add devotion to your job, you add devotion to your social activities and everything like that, and then that all becomes bhakti. Everything becomes spiritualized if you just do it in Krishna consciousness. So instead of, like, I'll give you an example, say family, right? See, materialistic family life without devotion is this is my house, my wife, my money, my kids, my job, you know, everything's revolving around me. But a spiritual family life, a family life with bhakti, this is Krishna's house, Krishna's goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, and Krishna's children, Krishna's money. You know, you see what I mean? This is Krishna's. I'm working for Krishna. This is Krishna's office, Krishna's factory. I'm working for Krishna and making money for Krishna's, for maintain. Because remember, you've got a temple in your house is a temple. So you're working to maintain Krishna's temple and pay Krishna's bills and, you know, buy food for Krishna and like that. So you've just transformed everything. So it's just by changing your consciousness. You didn't change anything externally. Nothing. You didn't move your house. You didn't get rid of the family or get a new family, or, you know, didn't change the way you look. You know, nothing external. You don't need a plastic surgery or